Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the show tonight. A little bit early tonight, but that's because Brian is going to be on with Grumpy Acres tonight at 6 o'clock, and I don't want to interfere with that show, conflict with that show. Plus, I want to actually go watch that as well. Should be a pretty interesting show. Grumpy Acres is a really cool guy, and you all know Brian. So, in the chat, what's going on, everyone? Liberated Ladies here. The Brandons are here, a couple Brandons. I think in our prepping group, there's like 3 different Brandons. So, but anyway, what's going on, everyone? I saw Dorian. It's not showing up on my stuff here. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, so. But at any rate, that's why I'm starting off a little bit early tonight. I am probably I'm going to stick around the same time frame, but I may choose different days, or I may just do this 4 o'clock slot because I noticed that nobody's doing a live stream right now. So I just don't want to conflict with anybody, or if you guys watch other channels, anything like that. So we'll see, but I'll post a notice and let everyone know what the plans are. It'll still be in the afternoon though. Maybe Friday, maybe Wednesday, maybe Thursday, somewhere in that area. But at any rate, what I wanted to do tonight, Liberate, before I get into the whole show stuff, Liberated Lady said, isn't Grumpy Acres the guy who doesn't like patchouli and dreads? If I do watch, I think he was just joking about that, actually, Liberated Lady. And then Brian was, Brian, being the California boy, he doesn't mind the patchouli and the dreads at all. Yeah, he can't please everyone. But at any rate, what I want to do tonight is go over some food storage best practices, some food storage, the fundamentals, basically. This is a little bit prepping 101, but I've been doing quite a bit of work over at the bug out location, putting everything together, the new bug out location, and Fed Up American. What's going on? How nice to see you in the chat. But I've been doing a lot of work over there, basically starting from scratch. I've got all the navigation set. If you think about it like building a house, I've basically got the 2x4s up, the walls up, and now I'm starting to put some drywall up. I'm working on putting the courses together, and the course that I'm working on right now is the very basic course, the free course I'm going to offer over there, which is 30 Days to Preparedness, or 30 Steps to Preparedness, which is just a fundamentals course. Because when somebody first gets into preparedness, if they go to some of these YouTube channels or go to some of these websites, they just, they get this, you're going to die, it's too late, you better just go out and start stockpiling this and that and this and that. And it's not the right way to get started. So I want to just do a basic course over there, just the fundamentals on doing it the right way. Just getting prepared, figuring out where you want to go, figuring out how to do things without all the fear and the confusion and all that stuff. So at any rate, that's why I decided, while I've got food storage on the brain, I will talk about some of that stuff today and give some of the best practices with food storage. Jammer's in the chat. What's going on, Jammer? Oh, and by the way, too, Jammer made a comment over on the Facebook group, or not Facebook group, the Survivalist Prepper group, the anti-Facebook group, about power tools. I had posted a video with this little mini chainsaw that Lisa got, and it actually worked pretty good. And he made a comment about power tools. So I want to, towards the end of this, get into power tools and prepping. Is it a no-go? Is it, I know there's a lot of purists out there that will probably say not a chance. But I think it's just like everything else in preparedness. It's one of those topics that, it really depends on you and your situation. And I think there's a lot of, personally, I think there's a lot of situations where they would be useful. So at any rate, before I got to see if I can see this here. Before we get into that, I wanted to show everyone, I did a poll both on the private group and on YouTube here. And first I'll show YouTube. This poll was how much canned food or how much DIY food storage do you have in your food storage plan? And the results were not really surprising. I think it's about what I thought. The one on YouTube here was pretty interesting though, because 19% said that they had none, which I know there's probably a couple reasons for that. If you are, homesteading, Alpha over in the group also had mentioned how he doesn't buy into a whole lot, and I'll go into this in a little bit, buy into a whole lot with the long-term food storage stuff, because he's more into the, grow your own, get your own stuff done. If something lasts for, if it is a full collapse, something lasts for a couple years, that food storage is not going to be all that great anyway. So, or it's going to be gone. But a lot of people chose 50% or more, and 56% of people actually chose that. Let me see if I've pull up this group right here. I should have had this loaded up earlier. I'll put this on full screen. Let me see if I can find this. I believe I put it in general prepping chat. And in this poll, here it is. What percentage of food storage is made up of DIY food storage techniques? And I put 20%. And honestly, this sort of fluctuates up and down because it really depends on, am I canning stuff? Because we do a lot of canning. We don't do any dehydrating or anything. I will take food that I purchased at the grocery store, put it in Mylar bags, put it in buckets, things like that. So it really depends. But a lot of people here, and again, it's that 50% range. A couple of comments I wanted to talk about. Let me see if I can find it here. Alpha's comment right here. He said, like I said earlier, I'm not a big long-term food storage fan. We have a lot of beans and rice, and I view it as supplements as we grow our food in our garden and put them in the freezers. Should a total caveman reset happen, unless you already know how to produce and procure your own food, once your long-term food stores run out, you're done. Regardless if it's 1 year or 10 years worth of food. So very good point there with that is learning how to grow your own. He says here, unless you're Bezos living on the side of a mountain with decades worth of food, you're going to have to learn how they lived in the 1800s. White Rabbit here also said, I agree 100% with that. Homesteading it would be ideal. Living now like you want to live then, but we don't have land yet. And what if you have to leave? Bug out skills are primo number one. And this is something I think that is, it's really tough for a lot of people. With me, I'm sort of trying to work my way to that point. A lot of people don't even want to get to that point. So it's one of those really tough type situations that it's really up to you. But that is ideal. If you're like Grumpy Acres tonight with Brian, if you're doing the homesteading thing, if you're able to grow your own, if you're able to do those things, if things do just go to complete crap, you're going to be better off. And it really doesn't matter if you have 2 years worth of food stored, 3 years worth of food stored, if it gets really that bad. That being said, those situations a situation like that would be pretty rare. So, there's a lot of different situations that are going to be a couple weeks, a couple months, something like that. Even if it's, an SHTF martial law type situation, the government's not going anywhere. They're going to want to rebuild. They're going to want to stay in power and do what they can do. So it may be a while, but they will still be there. A couple comments in the chat before we move on with this. Jammer said here, Rick Austin, as the guy who raised his food in a forest. Yeah, he's actually got the book, Rick and Jane Austin, Survival Mom. He's got his food foresting book, which is actually pretty good. I'm trying to get something started outside behind my little pond, but this year has not been cooperating with me very much. I think it was Brandon. Yeah, Brandon here in the chat said, and he lives around me as well. He said, this season, spring and summer storms are great reason to have plenty of stockpile. Your garden may not make it and may be compromised. My garden this year is basically all that's left. I'm waiting to see if a couple of the tomato plants survive. I'm going to give it a couple weeks to see if some of the squash survive. But anytime I took watermelons or cantaloupes or anything like that outside, transplanted it, it seems like it hailed that day. Like Murphy's Law was just waiting for me to, because I haven't been able to grow a full-size watermelon, and I really want to. That's like a goal. And it seems like every time I try to, it just hails and it kills them. So, but I do have garlic, I do have onions, and I do have potatoes that are all, protected from the hailstorm. So, and it's been pretty dry lately. So we'll see. See how that goes. One more comment, and then we'll move on to these. I got 10 tips here, but Brandon said, the other Brandon, freeze drying for me has been a great interim for me. I like having food put away because you never know when you may lose your garden to drought, or hail like we have. But yeah, that's one thing that is on the very top of my list, is to get a Harvest Right freeze dryer. And that is something I'm going to be saving up for and getting, because there's just so much you can do with that. One more thing on that tonight too. I'm glad you put that up there, because it reminded me. Grumpy Acres sent me some of this food. They do long-term. They do freeze-dried food. Him and his wife do, and he sent me some to try out. So I didn't get a chance to try this out today, but I am going to do a video on this and try some out. They've even got freeze-dried Skittles, which I told Brian I would wait to open these. Brian has got a pack of those as well, and he already downed them. So I want to talk about it on Sunday's show. But Grumpy Acres, they have their website. Let's see if I can find it here. grumpyacresfarm.com, and they've got all sorts of all the different things that they freeze dry over here. They've got eggs, they've got oatmeal, oatmeal ice cream bar, oatmeal ice cream. I think they have an ice cream bar on here somewhere too. I thought I saw that. Bananas, marshmallows. Maybe I was thinking ice cream bar because of Mountain House Foods or something like that. But at any rate, very cool stuff. If you want to help support actual preppers doing what they do, this is pretty cool stuff. Not going to build up your food storage or anything. What this is maybe for hiking, camping, bugging out a situation like that. Something you want the freeze dried food that isn't the high sodium food like this Legacy I'm going to talk about a little bit here. It's not that high sodium food that you can get, and you're helping local preppers out. This is, like I said, they're homesteaders. They do what they do, and just trying to get that little bit of extra income, and you're helping out the prepping community. So at any rate, I am going to try those, give those a shot, and see, do a video of those. And I'm actually going to compare it to some of this Legacy food as well. Why I have, before we get into these 10 things, I know I've said that 3 times. What time is the show on Sunday? Liberated Lady said. That is, Brian and I are going to do it at 5 o'clock. We're going to try to stick with the 5 o'clock time slot there. And Liberated Lady said, let's all meet up. That would be very cool if we could all just kind of get a group together and pick a state somewhere and just get it together and start hanging out. But before I get into these 10 tips, though, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I had a question yesterday about Legacy Foods, their 72-hour kit compared to the 4 Patriots 72-hour kit. And you see 4 Patriots 72-hour kit right here is $29. And then if you go to Legacy Foods or my website, the shtfshop.com, it's $115. And the question the other day is, what's the difference? What makes Legacy so much better than 4 Patriots or My Patriot Supply, which I have theirs up here as well, which is $17.76, their 72-hour kit. And basically, the only reason I have this up here for My Patriot Supply is actually kind of a good deal right now. So for $17, you get, I believe it's like 6,000 calories, 2,000 calories a day. Yeah, so 6,000 calories. So not a bad deal. But what I wanted to talk about a little bit is to sort of help everybody that is in the market for buying this sort of long-term food storage stuff. Don't fall for the advertising gimmicks. The serving size is a sales pitch. It is a sales pitch they use for, I don't care if you're talking about boxes of cereal or if you're talking about buckets of long-term food. The serving size is whatever they decide that their serving size is. So it's only a way to sell you more. They display this, or they brand this as the 72-hour kit, and it's got, I wanted to show you some of the differences. Let me put this on full screen here. So you look at this and you think, hey, $30 for a 72-hour kit, that's fantastic. But when you look at the total calories, 4,800 total calories, compared to Legacy Foods here, which is 1,244 total calories. Now, this is 32 servings, not 20. So it's like a third more, but it's 4 times as many calories in here. And the reason this is, Legacy's 72-hour kit is for 2 people, whereas for Patriots is for 1 person. But it's just branded as a 72-hour kit. So when you see this and then you see this, you're going, what the hell? Why would I want to even buy that? That's so much more expensive. I could get 3 of these, 3 or 4 of these for that same price. And you could, and it is about the same as one of these is equal to about 3 or 4 of these. The other thing with these that you need to look out for is what's included in the package, not necessarily the ingredients. So in this 72-hour kit, you get 4 servings of mac and cheese, you get 8 servings of vegetable, creamy rice and vegetable dinner, and then some oatmeal. In Legacy Foods, you get pasta primavera, pasta alfredo. I need to fix that spelling right there. Cheese and broccoli, and you get meals, basically. You get a whole bunch of meals, 4 servings apiece. And the servings are 1 and 1.5 cups, so 1.5 cup servings. I believe you look on here at 4 Patriots, and their servings are 1/3 of a cup. And I believe a couple of these, I think this one is actually a half a cup. No, maybe not. Let me get rid of that. Maybe it's the oatmeal that's a half a cup. Yeah, the oatmeal is a half a cup. So just to make math easier for me, you've got a half a cup for these per serving with this. So basically with 20 servings, you're getting 10 cups of food. With these 32 servings, you're getting like 46, 47 cups of food. Just a massive, massive difference. So my whole point with this is when you're looking at this long-term food storage stuff, make sure if you are in the market to get some of that stuff, one, get a hold of me. I'll make sure you get a good deal. I'll be responsive. Make sure that you don't get ghosted or anything like that. Brandon made a very good point right here too. But make sure you look at calories and not the serving size. Protein is another one. And that's why I wanted to go through what's included with these quote unquote 72-hour kits. I suppose they are 72-hour kits. You are going to get 72 hours out of them. You could go out and buy a flint rod or a mag bar or something and call it a 72-hour kit, because you don't need any food really to survive 72 hours. But protein, and we're going to get into that as I go through this, protein is a really key one, because that's going to give you the energy. That's going to help you rebuild your muscles if you're working hard and things like that. Help your muscles respond better. If you're eating, just oatmeal and macaroni and cheese for 3 days, for one, I don't know. I think when I eat macaroni and cheese and that's all I eat, an hour later I'm hungry. Kind of like Chinese food, right? Like eating rice. An hour later I'm hungry. So I just don't know. Yes, they call it a 72-hour kit, but look at what's in it. Look at the calories that are in it. Look at their serving sizes. All of that stuff before you go out and buy something. Now, if that is exactly what you want, then go for it, I think. It is pretty low cost. It's a great entry level type thing where you can test out their products and see. I may even get one because I want to see how good they are. I know how good Legacy is, but I want to see how good those are. Real quick before I get into that too, I wanted to mention this is the 72-hour kit right here in that video. And I'm actually going to be giving a couple of these away once I get the bug out location up and running. I am going to be giving a couple of these away. I wanted to open this real quick. Let me move this microphone. I want to open this and show you just a couple of what you get in it, the sizes. Another reason the legacy things, the legacy 72-hour kit's a little bit more expensive is because it does come in this bucket. They do have a box with 32 servings, I believe. That's like $90. But this, you get all of these meals in here, and let me pull this out of the way. So with this, you get these meals right here, and this is the size of the package. Now, this is 1.5 cups. This is 4 servings, so you've got 6 cups worth of food in here. That other one, you've got 4 servings at a third. You've basically got 1 cup, a little over a cup of food. So you're talking a package. It may be this big, but you're talking, I mean, almost nothing in that package. So that is a big difference when you're talking about the price. Now, let me put this back on this screen now and stop jabbering about that stuff. But this Legacy Foods, I like Legacy Foods. I sell Legacy Foods, and I am what I am about it. I'm not trying to be, super salesman-y or anything, but I know the people there. Amy over at Legacy Foods, great person, really responsive when I have questions. Somebody's birthday. Oh, Miss, sorry, I'm trying to read this. Kanzi said, say happy birthday to Miss WV. So I'm assuming that is Jammer's wife. Very cool. Happy birthday. Tell her I said happy birthday as well. Now I forgot where I was. Oh, but Legacy Foods, that's where I was. Really responsive. Amy's great. If you guys have ever listened, it's an old podcast, and I don't think he does it anymore, but Rob Hannes does the Preparedness podcast, I believe is what it was called. Fantastic podcast. Even though it's old, it's still, when I first started prepping, that's what I listened to, and it's just fantastic. Dude knows his stuff. So they're the real deal. That's why I like Legacy Foods. Their food's good and all that. And I figure if I still have this bucket left, after 25 years, I'm opening up and celebrating that the world didn't go to crap. I'm 70 years old, and the world didn't go to crap. So. Liberated Lady said here in the chat, once I get settled, Dale, I'll definitely place an order. Really don't have a place to store. Yeah, on the bus right now. I wonder why that text is not coming through right there all the way. Really don't have a place on the bus. Yeah, no kidding. But I'll be getting a new P.O. box. Yeah, just let me know anytime. Again, this is not, I didn't want to make this a sales pitch, but it is something that people need to be aware of. It's not about serving sizes. It's about calories. So, Kanzi said, never tried Legacy Foods. Can't read that. My old eyes are not working. I've never tried Legacy Food. What is the conversion rate from U.S. to Canada? Do they distribute to Canada? I don't know, Kanzi. I'll have to find out. I believe they do, but I don't know the answer to either of those questions. But I will look that up, and I'll get a hold of you in the group and let you know about that. But at any rate, just, pay attention to calories when you're looking at this long-term food stuff, and just food in general at the store. The calories, the cereals, the boxes, the canned meats, all of that, the serving size, it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. It's a sales pitch. All right. So what I want to do is get into some of these tips, and I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that I've sort of went over a little bit here with these, but they're just good tips when you're building up your food storage to make sure you're doing it right and you're getting off on the right foot. So this first one I've got here is foods that get eaten regularly. And for a lot of us that have been doing this for a while, this is actually something that we made the mistake of when we first started out buying a whole bunch of canned food. It wasn't anything that we actually ate, and we ended up throwing away a whole lot of canned food. These days, we don't store a lot of canned food unless it's ingredients for meals, because we just don't use it. The vegetables, sometimes we'll get those, but we don't get a lot because our go-to is freezer. There's a huge difference between freezer peas that have been in the freezer, and canned peas. They might as well be two different things because they taste completely different. So on this, it says the biggest money savers is in your long-term food storage plan is storing food that your family will eat. And this is because, like I said, if you throw that stuff away, it's just a waste of money, regardless of whether you got a deal on it. You know, when you first get into this, everybody's talking about, hey, we've got coupons. You go to the store, you see, 25 cents a can for asparagus or something like that. And you're grabbing 4 cans because figure what the heck, a buck. Then it takes up space and then you just end up throwing it away and you got to go through it, all that crap. So the one caveat to this is the long-term food storage stuff, because that is basically, it's a bucket and it's good for 25 years. So it's not something you have to think about every other year or something like that when it comes to this other food storage and all that stuff. So the typical prepper saying, right? Store what you eat what you store. Make sure that, you're not storing food that you're just going to have to throw away eventually. We all sort of prepare for these large, longer term sort of disaster situations, but the odds are it's going to be something like the pandemic was, or something that lasts a couple weeks, something that that pantry food that you have and that little bit, however much you have stored in your on your storage shelves and your food storage are going to get you through a situation like that until you can restock. So the next one I have here is high calorie foods, just like I talked about before, not high servings. And when people go out shopping, they tend to look at the serving size. I'm not going to go into this too much because I did quite a bit, but they tend to look at serving size rather than calorie count. When it comes to your prepper food, it's important to count the calories rather than look at the serving size. And again, I talked about this earlier. Anybody can make up any sort of serving size that they want and sell you on that, tell you, hey, we've got the most servings on the market, even though they've got the weight of the product maybe half as much as the competitor, or their serving size is, like I was just talking about with these 4 Patriots and all that, the serving size is a third or even less than that of the other brands. So again, and also with your food storage stuff, the typical prepper food storage number for calories per day is 2,000. That really depends on how much you're working. That really, if it's a pandemic lockdown type situation where you're sitting on your butt watching a whole bunch of movies, you're probably not going to need 2,000 calories. If you're out working, if you're in a bug out situation, if you're doing a lot of work, 2,000 calories, it probably would be the bare minimum. And again, you're going to need protein-rich foods and things like that. And that's the next one I've got on my list here is, along with counting calories, you should also pay attention to the protein, carbohydrates, fats, and in a disaster scenario. And this is because you're going to need all of those things that give you that energy to do the things that you need to do in a disaster situation. If you're out working your butt off and you're, like I said earlier, if you're eating that macaroni and cheese and maybe a little bit of oatmeal, you're not going to have the energy, you're not going to have the will, you're not going to have the morale to do the things that you need to do. So now I continue on here. It says we won't be worrying about eating too much of these. We'll be worried about not getting enough. These days, we're worried about too many carbs, right? Especially the older we get. But we won't be worrying about that in an SHTF situation. We'll want to be getting enough of those. Your muscles will be fatigued and worn down after spending time outside doing whatever your current prepper projects are. And that's where I was talking about. That's what this is talking about with the protein. Proteins are your body's way of rebuilding those muscles to do more work and last longer the next time you go out. So the next time you go out, you're not going to be fatigued. So proteins, all the other things that are included in these foods. And we don't really think about it too much because we've got such a wide variety right now that we eat anyway. And I'm no nutritionist. I don't read the backs of boxes like Lisa does, or like a lot of people do, and think about how many grams and servings and all of that stuff that you should have. But we eat such a wide variety of foods right now that we are usually getting pretty close to those main nutrients anyway, pretty close to what we should be, probably more than we should be with some of this stuff. But at any rate, the next one I've got here, let me see if there's any comments in here. Charlie said in the chat, hunting and fishing skills are important. Yeah. Yeah. And that goes with supplementing your food storage and things like that. So, yeah, very good comment. All of that, the hunting, the fishing, the gardening, the canning, all of those different things that you can do to help yourself be able to last once your food storage is gone is all great stuff. So, the next one I've got here basically is easy to cook meals and food. We need to remember that our daily routines will change in a survival situation, natural disasters, or off-grid events. Our modern convenience will be gone, and we should plan accordingly. The stove and refrigerator may not be available. The water may be in short supply. So it's important that your food storage includes meals that are easy to prepare and don't require a lot of resources. And as I say here in the end right here, figure out what options you have for cooking in a disaster and build your food storage plan around that. If you've got a well or a river running through your property, water is not going to be an issue. So stockpiling, boxes and boxes of spaghetti or noodles or things like that you need to boil is not going to be a big issue. Some of this long-term food storage stuff, right? You need to add water to it to make sure to get it to rehydrate, freeze-dried food in general. But if if water is in limited supply or you don't have a lot of water stored, you need to think about how much water you're going to need for that 50 pounds of spaghetti that you've got stored and those 40 jars of spaghetti sauce. Spaghetti would be fantastic. It will be fantastic in a situation like that. Jars of sauce stored for a couple years. Spaghetti, same thing. So they're great shelf-stable foods you can store, but you have to cook those, and that takes half a gallon to a gallon of water to just make one of those meals. So you got to think about that. You've also got to think about what sort of fuel you have and cooking options that you're going to have when you don't have the stove. What sort of cooking options might you have in an indoor situation, and what sort of foods are you going to be able to cook? That's where the can of SpaghettiOs might come in handy, right? If you've got to cook on a like this Instafire that I've got back here that you use sterno to cook on it, I can cook an egg. I can do some things like that, but I'm not cooking a steak on that thing. I'll bet you I probably could. It may take a while, but at any rate, think about what you're going to do as far as indoor stuff. So make sure your food storage plan, it goes hand in hand with the supplies that you have to actually cook that food, and all of those. Make sure all of those things are a consideration. So next one I've got here is versatile prepping foods, and this is the ingredients. Augustin Farms. I'm a big fan of Augustin Farms. Augustin Farms you can get from Walmart, I believe, these days. Lisa was just telling me that she went to a Walmart down in Parker the other day, and it just almost like a half a row of just Augustin Farms buckets and cans, and we've got a bunch of them over here on the shelf. I don't know if you can see it. You can't really see it up there in the corner, but they're on the top there. But we've got a whole bunch of the cans because they're different ingredients. Oops, wrong slide. They're different ingredients. So you can get the different things to incorporate into one dish or one meal. So in this, I say here, when I say versatile prepping foods, I mean foods that be used to create different types of meals. Canned vegetables, flour, beans, rice, they're all good for different types of meals. Those are also things you could put in 5-gallon buckets. These foods are great for diversifying your survival food storage and mixing things up. Bread is another one that I don't eat a whole lot of bread right now. But in a situation like that, bread's a great filler. Bread's really easy to make. It's really low cost. The flour's easy to store. Yeast will last about a year. It's just really easy to make. Sugar, salt, yeast, and water. A little bit of oil, and you're good to go. So all of those things to make everything just a little bit more, a little bit of morale, I suppose, because if you're eating that can of SpaghettiOs every day, if you're eating the legacy foods every day, that's going to get pretty old. Plus the fact that these long-term food storage things are really high in sodium, so it's not going to be that great for you. So make sure you have a versatile prepping pantry. The next one I've got here, and I think this one is really important for me anyway, is the normalcy foods, the comfort food. the things, especially this is especially important if you have a family with younger kids. You're going to want those foods that that kind of shut them up, right? That make them quit whining, that make them say, you know, this isn't as bad as it could be. Something that reminds them that things, yes, things are bad, but they're pretty close to normal. You've done a good job as prepper dad or prepper mom of making sure that the situation is as good as you possibly can make it. So in here it says, sometimes we get wrapped up in the survival aspect of our food storage, or we get wrapped up in the long-term Mad Max super, you know, the complete collapse type situation. And we don't pay attention to the fact that it may be a little bit shorter term, and we don't pay attention to the things that, like I talked about earlier, the things we eat on a regular basis. We don't pay attention to the things that our family wants. We're just thinking that prepper brain of 2,000 calories a day. I got to make sure I have this. I got to make sure it doesn't matter what it tastes like. I've got to make sure that we just survive. That is true, but at the same time, there's that normalcy, that comfort that we need to get that situation, because it's not always, like I said earlier, rarely is it that really long-term type situation. Make sure your long-term food storage plans includes items like coffee. You got to have coffee. Sweets, drinks, mixes, anything that can be stored long-term that the family enjoys. Drink mixes, I think, are a huge one as well. Coffee for me, I drink coffee and I drink water. That's the only thing I drink. Lisa drinks the Mio. Mio, the little things at Mio are fantastic, or they got those drink mixes or Tang, things like that. Those are going to go a long way when it is a situation and you've got kids, or even you're just, with me, I like drinking water. It's all I drink, but some people don't. So if that's all they're drinking on a daily basis, it's going to get really old. And if they're drinking water and SpaghettiOs, or maybe they got the 4 Patriots stuff and they're drinking water and macaroni and cheese for 3 days straight, that may get kind of old. So just make sure you got those comfort foods, chocolate, candy, all of those things. With this right here, I believe it's this one. Freeze-dried Skittles. I'm sure Brandon in the chat, a couple of Brandons have the Harvest Right. Freeze-dried Skittles, great to have the sweets and things like that. Give you a little boost of energy, stuff like that. So White Rabbit's in the chat. What's going on, White Rabbit? She said, oh, she were talking to Liberated Lady. Hi, Liberated Lady. It's been a while. Hope all is well. Sorry, my old eyes, I can't see these quite well until I put them up. So, Brandon, let me see if I can get this one. Brandon said here in the chat, I keep some No-Dos too. Might need that caffeine for long days and nights, and you can only drink and store so much coffee. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, No-Dos, you can stick some in your bug out bag or wherever. Give you that little boost of energy when you're just not feeling it, right? All right, so let me get back on this here, find out where I was. Here we are. All right, so the next one. We've got non-refrigerated prepping foods, and I think I'm sort of preaching to the choir here, but this is really important because just about every disaster we think of, the foods in your refrigerator, I think of those as a bonus, right? Those are the things like I was talking about earlier with the vegetables. I'd much rather eat the frozen vegetables. Much rather eat the fresh vegetables, but the frozen vegetables are my go-to before the canned vegetables. But in a situation that is a grid down situation longer than, a couple weeks or so, refrigeration is going to be toast unless you've got the means to keep that going. But it's important that we plan for the worst and hope for the best. Your prepping food storage plan shouldn't include foods that require refrigeration. Now, that is, I don't mean to say that if you don't store anything in your refrigerator. What I'm saying is, as you go through and you calculate your long-term food storage stuff, it shouldn't be, in my opinion anyway, it shouldn't be things that are in the refrigerator, because if you go past a year, unless you have that power source, if you go past a year, that stuff's not going to be there. So you may as well not count it. If you do happen to have electricity in a disaster, refrigeration foods would be a bonus, like I was talking about earlier. But if the grid's down, foods like milk, meat, and cheese won't last very long. Although you've got the powdered milk, I've got freeze-dried beef dices that I'm going to try from Legacy Foods over here as well. You've got meat packets. You've got alternatives for this stuff. There's even ways to package cheese, which I haven't tried yet. I really should because I love cheese, but you can put it in the wax and extend the shelf life of that. So just the refrigerated foods they're great. But that's one of those things where you've got to think about how an SHTF, a disaster type situation, it's not normal. Your normal methods, the normal way of doing things is not going to work. So you need to figure out ways around that stuff to make sure that it is as normal as possible. All right, so the next one I've got here is don't forget the essentials and the accessories, and this is pretty damn important. It may seem obvious, but if you're going to store canned foods, you better have a manual can opener, right? We've got a few of them because on our counters, everything is automatic these days, right? Everything is powered these days. You've got the can opener, which works fantastic. I use it all the time. Very rarely do I actually use the can opener that we have in the drawer, but it is there. Plus, I've got one down here. I've got a couple all over the place, or not all over the place, but down here in a couple different places. I've also got a larger one for the number 10 cans. So make sure if you do have like the Augustin Farm stored, those number 10 cans of flour, muffin mix, whatever it is, make sure you have a can opener that's actually going to open those cans. Because if you just have the little P38 can opener that preppers love, and I've got one on a keychain, I've got one on my bug out bag, I've got probably on this shelf back here, I've got probably a box of like 10 of them. Those are not going to open a number 10 can. So make sure you have a can opener to do that as well. Alongside food, other essentials include supplies like water, what we talked about earlier, the cooking utensils, fuel sources, and tools for that food preparation. So the pots and pans and all of that stuff. How you are plan on eating that food. Are you using paper plates? Are you going to wash dishes? Those are things that are sort of individual to you. If you're using paper plates and things like that, you're going to have to figure out how to get rid of the trash. And again, that is all. This is where, this is why, or one part of that makes prepping so personal, because everyone's got a different plan. Like that poll that I put in the beginning where 50%, people say that on average, 50% of their food storage is made up of DIY methods. Everyone's different. Everyone's doing things differently, and whatever works for them, whatever works for their family, whatever they're going to eat, their family's going to eat, whatever means they have of making, cooking, growing, whatever, that's going to decide basically what the proper food storage plan is. Number 8 here, we've got a couple of these left, and then I want to get into Brandon's comment about power tools. But number 8 here, diverse food storage and a variety. While calories are king, aim for diverse foods that provide essential nutrients and meet dietary requirements, including a combination of canned foods, dried goods, freeze-dried, and dehydrated foods. We talked about this a little bit earlier when we were talking about the different nutrients and everything that go into keeping your body running in tip-top shape, and the things that we're going to need in an SHTF situation if we are out there doing work and we're getting things done, or we're in a bug out situation. We're going to need all those different nutrients to get our body to work the way it's supposed to work. Whereas if you're just eating that macaroni and cheese or something, sure, you're going to have something in your belly and it's better than nothing, but it's not going to give your body what it needs. So have a diverse, and like I was talking about earlier, we eat so many different things these days that we don't really think about it that much. Try to do the same thing in an SHTF situation where you're not being deficient in one area or another when it comes to these nutrients and things like that. So number 9 here, the most important one, I think, and actually I did put it on here. The most important part of your food prepping or your food storage, other than having the food itself, is doing inventory periodically and using the first in, first out method, the rotation. This is super important in preparedness because you've got to make sure, one, you need to do inventory to make sure if you think you have 6 months worth of food, 3 months worth of food, whatever your number is If you think you have that much, you need to make sure you do. Otherwise, you're going into something with rose-colored glasses on, thinking you're okay, and all of a sudden 3 weeks later, you're out of food and you're wondering why. The first in, first out method sort of goes along the same type of thing. And what I was talking about earlier, if you store what you eat what you store. If you don't eat it, it's just going to sit there. First in, first out is going to also save you some money, but it's also going to make sure that when you do reach for that can of beans, that refried beans, or that can of SpaghettiOs, whatever it is, that when you do reach for that, it is going to be good. Or when you do reach for those spaghetti noodles or that spaghetti sauce, you're not seeing that it expired 2 years ago and you're having to make the choice of, I'm really hungry. Do I chance this or do I toss this out? I think a month into an SHTF situation, I am doing every single sort of type of test I possibly can before I throw something out. But don't put yourself in that situation in the first place. So first in, first out. Make sure you're staying on top of this. This gets pretty tough the longer you do this, the more food you have in your food storage plan, because it just becomes a bigger and bigger job. And you've got to really stay on top of it at that point, because if you don't, if you've got a month's worth of food storage and you're not doing the first in, first out method, you're throwing away 4 or 5 cans here and there, not a huge deal. If you've got a year's worth supply of food storage and you're throwing a bunch away of stuff, you may be throwing away a couple $100s worth of stuff. So just try to stay on top of that. And like I said, the more you do this, the bigger the challenge gets. Last one here. Oh no, that was the last one. Okay. So what I'll do is take a couple comments. If anybody's got any good advice or anything on that. Kanzi said in the chat, food poisoning, no joy. Yeah. That's the one thing you got to look out for, because in an SHTF, any type of disaster situation, I don't care if it's just a week, any type of situation like that, you're sick, you got the runs, whatever the problem is, that's no bueno. And it's going to affect your ability to do other things. It's going to affect your whole family, because they're going to have to take care of you. They're going to have to, if you got the Hershey squirts or whatever, they're going to have to, be around you at that time. So, Kanzi also said here, any expired canned foods I have, I use for a bait station for my hunts. That's a good idea. Yeah, if you've got that, if you're in that type of situation, a lot of people being in like the suburbs or something, I don't know that you'd want to put a bait station outside your house, because the predators that you're going to get are not the same type of predators that Kanzi is going to get up there in Canada. So... yeah, Charlie said food poisoning would make matters worse. Yeah. So, and with we do our own canned food, some of our own canned food and things like that too. And botulism is another one of those things. It's odorless, it's tasteless. And that is some nuclear stuff. I know it's pretty rare, but it is one of those things in a situation like, these days, I'm not even taking a chance. I don't honestly know what the answer to that would be. Now, if it was obvious, say I had a jar of, tomatoes or something that I jarred, and it was obvious and the seal was it wasn't sealed properly, that's a no-go. I don't care how hungry I am. That's a no-go. But if it's something that's iffy, I'm doing some tests. Liberated Lady said food poisoning without toilet paper, real bad. Yeah. yeah. That would be horrible. Unless you've got maybe you've got a pond on your property, you got property with a pond or something like that. I mean, I don't know. And then Charlie Angel made a very good comment here too. No doctors around in an SHTF situation. Yeah. Unless you're lucky enough to live with one. Lisa is a nurse, but I don't know that would, if I cut myself, that's great. But as far as food poisoning and stuff, she's got the basic knowledge that, that a lot of people have, maybe a little bit more, but a lot of that basic knowledge. And even doctors, if you've got, family or friends or people in your mag group that are doctors, they're going to be limited because they're going to have the knowledge on what and why and all that. But if they don't have the medications or anything like that to help you, what are you going to do about that? Which all of this whole conversation goes into store this stuff as well. Kenzie said here in the chat, store the medications for all of these different minor ailments that you might go through in some sort of situation, whether it's the food poisoning, the diarrheal stuff, the stomach stuff, the Pepsid, I use Prilosec because I've got a weak stomach basically, but store those things. Diarrheal treatment, brat recipe, bananas, raisins, apples, and toasts. Didn't know that, but that, I can see how that works. It must be fiber, something like that, I suppose. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a nutritionist. But Dorian and Liberated Lady gave you the thumbs up on that, so must be correct. All right, so before I get out of here tonight, like I said, I do want to, I am going to go watch, if anybody wants to join, I'm going to go watch and join in the chat over on Grumpy Acres Farms YouTube channel. Him and Brian are going to be on tonight talking about probably some mental stuff, the Mind for Survival stuff. That's what Brian does at Mind for Survival, so I'm assuming that's what it will be, but who knows with them, with them and me, we all just kind of go down rabbit holes and talk about that stuff. But I did want to bring up something, and I don't have, I was going to put the video on, but I wanted to bring up something that Jammer was talking about when I posted a video, and I've put the video here on YouTube of this little chainsaw that Lisa has, and I was going to bring it down here, and I forgot that too. Not super prepared for the show today. But it was a really cool chainsaw. I made fun of her like crazy because this little tiny chainsaw, look at that little girl chainsaw is basically what I was saying. But we were out processing firewood, and we were processing wood, basically branches. I've got a couple trees that have died, so I took down, and you're taking the branches off each of those and figuring out what wood is big enough for actual firewood, what wood is going in the chipper, and all that. Her little chainsaw, long story short, actually was pretty good. And I know you could use a machete and things like that. I even got a comment on that video. You could use a machete. This is a lot less energy, and it worked fantastic. Just chopping off those branches, the little branches that are basically kindling or wood chips. And that's basically how we separate those two out. If we have enough kindling, then the rest of it goes to wood chips. And then the other ones that are big enough, that are over a half an inch big, those go into the wood pile and get separated into, larger than a couple inches and smaller than a couple inches, all that. But that little chainsaw worked great. Anyway, Jammer was talking about how he has sort of, it sort of goes against the prepper norms, I suppose, a little bit. Because a lot of, and it's true, if you don't have a way to generate that power, you're going to be hosed. So having those manual tools is important. Kenzie said, hey, lady chainsaw is great. As long as you got power supply to keep the battery charged. Yeah. Again, with being out in Canada and Kenzie, I could see, a little lady chainsaw probably not going to do a whole lot of good for the type of firewood you need to do and all that. But Jammer was talking about different power tools and how that would be pretty convenient. It doesn't take a whole lot of energy to charge the batteries on these. If you think about how often you would need to use a cordless drill or anything like that, it probably wouldn't be a whole lot. So it's not like you're constantly using the battery power in those. And as long as you do have a way to recharge those, I think they're fantastic. You're going to get the job done with less energy. You're going to get the job done in less time, more efficiently, better. Think about if you've got, and I've got one in the garage, a little hand drill. It's got like 4 or 5 different bits, a little hand drill that you can drill holes in wood and things like that. If there's no electricity, thing works. It's going to be my go-to. It's going to be a better than nothing, right? But the amount of energy, you think about the old days when they were building log cabins themselves and they were cutting timbers with those big ass saws. That is a lot of work and a lot of energy and a lot of calories and all that. So Kanzi said a good axe and a bush saw is the way to go. Yeah. Yeah, for those big chores and things like that. Yeah, you are going to want to have those. I've got an axe here. I like I said, I don't want to say don't have those manual supplies. The axes, shovels, pickaxes, all those different things, machetes and knives and all that stuff is fantastic. But it would be convenient to have something. Sorry, I'm reading these comments here. Something that was just super easy, simple. You go out, get the job done, and boom, you're good to go. You're not out of energy, all that stuff. But at the same time, you got to have all those other supplies just in case. Good point, Liberated Lady. She said the lady chainsaw. That's what I'm going to be calling it from now on. The lady chainsaw would be good as a weapon too, if need be. Yeah. You thinking of like some Evil Dead type action going on there, waving your chainsaw around. But I'll tell you what, nobody would probably mess with you. They wouldn't want to get too close. You've got you got a 6-inch fixed blade knife or something like that. And that is intimidating in itself, but you got a chainsaw going at somebody. They're going to think twice about getting you. So yeah, very good point. Yeah. Better than the wasp spray. I'll put it that way. That every once in a while the wasp spray crap still pops up, but better than the wasp spray. And I will say, you know what? In an SHTF situation, if that's all you got, to can of wasp spray. You know what? That's what you've got. But you do that crap these days, even if the guy is trying to do you harm, you're probably going to go to jail. So. At any rate, I'm not going off on wasp spray, but power tools are fantastic. Brandon said here in the chat, 40-watt power tools or 40-volt power tools are great. All I've got is 12 and 18 volt. Are 40 volt, Brandon, are those rechargeable, or are you talking about something, like commercial size right there? Lisa's in the chat here. She must be off work or something. She said, work smarter, not harder. Yeah. And in situations where you don't have the energy to do that stuff, maybe you're going to just have to work harder. So make sure you do have all of that stuff. Crash Neptune said, great show, Dale. Been listening to your podcast for years. This is the first time live. First live that I've caught. It was pretty cool. Very cool. Crash Neptune. Welcome. Thanks for listening for all these years, and welcome to the YouTube channel. Jammer said, I'm back for a minute. 40 watt is the best. Liberated Lady. I'm trying to see here what, I don't, you guys are kind of going back and forth. So 40 watt, I'm going to have to look into that, the 40 watt power tools, because all I've got is 12 and 18. Brandon said, there we go. Brandon said 40 watts are rechargeable. So, and I don't know off the top of my head how much energy, how many amps it would take to, or even milliamp hours, amp hours it would take to recharge one of these batteries. And I don't have a battery in front of me, so I don't know. I want to say it's like 20 milliamp hours or 20. I don't know what they are. 20 amp hours is what one of our Makita outside. I'll have to look, and I'm going to stop talking about that before I start saying numbers and everybody starts saying I'm completely full of shit. But I'll have to look into the 40 watt ones. And it also really depends on your situation. Like Kanzi, I assume, I don't know exactly where you live, but I assume you're in a more rural area than even most rural areas here in the United States, more rural than me anyway. It really matters what you're going to be doing, where you are. If you are homesteading, like Grumpy Acres, or even I believe Alpha in the group is sort of homesteading and things like that. If you're in a situation where that is going to be something you use quite a bit, maybe it's the 40 watt, or maybe it's just the good old fashioned store enough fuel for your chainsaw, or get one of those big long saws and all of that. Kanzi said. Kenzie said bush country, bears, wolves, and wild Indians. Wild Indians, wild Canadian Indians. All right, so I am going to get out of here tonight. Again, I appreciate it, everyone. If you guys have any ideas, any comments, let me know in the comments below after this video. Send me an email. If you guys are in the group, let me know in the group about what sort of videos to do next. If you are not a member of the group, you can go to members.survivalistprepper.net. Check that group out there. $2 a month, you get full access to the group. It's a really fun group. A lot of people in there that really know their stuff. I'm hoping to get some new preppers in there, some people in there that don't quite know as much as everybody does, because it's fun to be able to answer questions. And there's so much knowledge in that group right now that it'd be just be a fantastic place for anybody that's just starting out. So if you are just starting out, one, join the bug out location, because I'm working on a new one and it's absolutely going to be fantastic. Light years ahead of the old one as far as structure, navigation, and courses and all that stuff. But yeah, in the group is going to be, it is fantastic. The bug out location is going to be fantastic. So White Rabbit said, great show. Thanks, Dale. Yes, thank you, White Rabbit. But with that, I am done today. Everyone, take care and prepare. I'll either talk to you in the group, or if you're over watching Grumpy Acres video tonight here in about an hour, I will say hello to you over there. But with that, take care and prepare. We'll talk to you all later.